A French general gave John Quincy Adams a pet alligator. Adams kept it in one of the White House bathtubs. A woman was elected to the House of Representatives 4 years before women even won the right to vote. Warren Harding, our 29th president, loved a game of poker, and apparently he was a high roller. During one of his bi-weekly poker games, Harding gambled away a set of china that had been in the White House since President Benjamin Harrison's tenure 6 terms prior. He bet it all on one ill-advised hand. Abraham Lincoln loved cats. He even let one eat from the table during a formal White House dinner. After the attack on Pearl Harbor, there were 3 sailors trapped in the USS West Virginia who could not be rescued. They were trapped for 16 days before they died. Alexander Hamilton was shot and mortally wounded by Aaron Burr on the same spot that his son had been killed 3 years before. During the Prohibition era, the U.S. government allowed whiskey to be sold by prescription. As a result, Walgreens grew from 20 retail stores to almost 400. 31st President Herbert Hoover insisted that his staff never see him around the White House, and he didn't want to see them either. This was quite tricky to pull off, as the staff felt pressure to hide from the president whenever he was around. Staffers would pile into closets and hide behind bushes so the president couldn't see them. For almost 15 years, Vermont was technically its own country, with its own coins and postal service, before joining the United States in 1791. Frederick Douglass was the most photographed man of the 19th century. He wanted to ensure an accurate depiction of Black Americans during the Civil War. Lyndon B. Johnson proposed to Lady Bird with a $2.50 ring from Sears on their first date. Though she declined his offer, Johnson kept trying. He sent her 90 letters in the span of about 90 days. Then he got impatient and traveled from Washington, D.C. to Texas and showed up at her door with an ultimatum: marry me now or forever hold your peace. She accepted his proposal and the $2.50 engagement ring that came with it. In 1866, the United States purchased Alaska from Russia for $7.2 million by writing a check. In 1907, a woman named Annette Kellerman was arrested for indecency for wearing a one-piece swimsuit on a beach in Boston. In what was probably the first White House yard sale, and I imagine the last, the 21st president sold 24 wagon loads of presidential merchandise, including a pair of Abraham Lincoln's pants and John Quincy Adams' hat. He then used the money to hire an interior decorator. In 1942, a 12-year-old Calvin Graham lied about his age to join the Navy. He became a decorated war hero at age 13, but after his mom found out, he was dishonorably discharged for lying. President Ulysses S. Grant was arrested while in office. He was charged, booked, and released for speeding on a horse and had to pay a fine. Rebecca Felton was the first woman to ever serve in the United States Senate, but she only served for 1 day. The current American flag was designed by a high school student as part of a school project. In his junior year of high school in 1958, Bob Heft created the design with 50 stars, even though Alaska and Hawaii weren't states yet. He figured the two would become states soon. He only got a B- on the project, but after President Eisenhower called to say the design was approved, Heft's teacher changed his grade to an A. The 1831 London Bridge was sold in 1962 when it needed to be replaced. It was bought by Lake Havasu City, Arizona, to help tourism. John Quincy Adams loved to skinny dip. The president would wake up early and stroll to the Potomac River from the White House and take a swim in the Buff. Skinny dipping was apparently pretty common in the 1800s. The average inmate at Alcatraz read 75 to 100 books per year. The Empire State Building only took a little over a year to build, 410 days. Due to the Depression, it was 20 years before it became profitable. Theodore Roosevelt officially gave the White House its name. 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue was known as the Executive Mansion and the President's Palace until October of 1901, when Roosevelt referred to it as the White House. The 26th president made the moniker official when he had it engraved on his stationery. The first 4th of July celebration was in 1777, and please don't ask what day. The only window that opens on the presidential car is the driver's window, and only a few inches to allow for direct communication. Chicago's nickname as the Windy City doesn't have anything to do with its weather. Chicagoans might already know this random fact, but I bet a lot of people don't. The Windy City nickname was coined by journalists in the 1800s, referring to the fact that its residents were windbags and full of hot air. The president's limo has no keyholes. The Secret Service knows how to open the doors. Dwight D. Eisenhower, the 34th president, was an avid golfer, and he got sick and tired of squirrels messing up his game by digging up the green to bury their acorns. He ordered his valet to shoot the rodents, but the Secret Service wasn't keen on the use of guns on the White House ground. so groundkeepers trapped and released the animals instead. The original Star Spangled Banner was sewn on the floor of a brewery in Baltimore in 1813 by Mary Pickersgill, her daughter, two nieces, and an African girl. The world's first motel is in San Luis Obispo, which was built in 1925. When opened, it cost $1.25 for a bungalow with a kitchen and a private adjoining garage. Try and get that rate today. Thomas Edison invented an electric pen in 1876 that was later adapted to become the first tattoo machine in 1891. I mean, we knew Edison was cool, but not that kind of cool. Albert Einstein's eyeballs are in New York City. They were given to Henry Abrams and preserved in a safety deposit box. Abrams was Einstein's eye doctor. He received the eyeballs from Thomas Harvey, the man who performed the autopsy on Einstein and illegally took the scientist's brain for himself. Though most think it's Italian, pepperoni is an American invention. The first use of the word dates back to 1919. Times Square was originally called Longacre Square, until the New York Times moved its headquarters to the newly built Times Building, and it was renamed in 1904. When electricity was first installed in the White House in 1891, President Benjamin Harrison and his wife were terrified of being electrocuted. They refused to touch light switches, so the staff had to turn the lights off and on for them. When George Washington died, Napoleon Bonaparte of France gave a personal eulogy and ordered a 10-day mourning period for France. George W. Bush is cousins with Hugh Hefner. More specifically, they're ninth cousins twice removed, sharing the same pair of great-grandparents. Another cousin shared by the two is former presidential candidate John Kerry. Franklin Roosevelt became the first president to name a woman to his cabinet. Our 32nd president named Frances Perkins as the Secretary of Labor. She had previously worked for him when he was governor of New York. George Washington's teeth were made of something far more disturbing than wood. They were made from other people's teeth, likely slaves or impoverished people, along with ivory. Oh, it was that town in Footloose. No one could dance in the White House during James Polk's tenure. His wife was a strict Presbyterian and looked down upon dancing, so it was banned in the White House while her husband was in office and at the inaugural ball. She also disapproved of horse racing and the theater. At the National Museum of Health and Medicine in Washington, D.C., the spine of President James Garfield was displayed along with other medical oddities in 2000. A bullet hole from his 1881 assassination is clearly visible. William McKinley, the 25th president, was known for wearing a red carnation on his lapel for good luck. While greeting a little girl at an event in 1901, he decided to give his lucky flower to her. Moments later, he was assassinated. 4 former presidents served as cheerleaders either in high school or college. Who were they? Ronald Reagan, Dwight D. Eisenhower, Franklin Roosevelt, and George W. Bush. As a child, John Adams often chose to hunt and fish rather than go to school. However, he made it into Harvard at age 15 and went on to become the 2nd president of the United States. Andrew Jackson's pet parrot began shouting obscenities at his funeral and had to be carried out. The president was a former war hero known for his tough exterior, so it didn't surprise anyone that he had taught the bird this colorful language. When President Calvin Coolidge woke up to find a burglar rifling through his belongings, he managed to calmly talk down the would-be thief. The president found out the man was desperate to pay his hotel bill and buy a ticket back to his college campus. So Coolidge willingly gave him the contents of his wallet, $32, and snuck him out of the room and past the Secret Service. Before becoming the 16th president, Abraham Lincoln was a bartender and a bar owner. He partnered with a friend to buy a bar in Illinois, but gave it up and became a lawyer shortly thereafter. Have you ever heard of President David Rice Atchison? Yeah, me either. In 1849, the inauguration of Zachary Taylor landed on a Sunday, and their religious incumbent refused to be sworn in on a holy day, so he had Atchison stand in for him. 3 United States presidents married while they were in office. President John Tyler remarried in 1844 after the death of his first wife. Woodrow Wilson also remarried after the death of his wife in 1915. Grover Cleveland also married while in the White House and was the only president to marry in a White House ceremony. The United States government saved every public tweet from 2006 through 2017. Starting in 2018, the Library of Congress decided to only keep tweets on a very selective basis, including elections and those dealing with something of national interest, like public policy.